Ladies and gentlemen, just to summarize everything, the brother Io sent me literature and documents to try and prove that Hebrews were in Egypt. The images that he showed me were not from any temples that said they were Hebrews. The website that showed those images showed a scribe named Ippy, a very well-known scribe to Akhenaten. They called him a 15-year-old child slave. Okay, epic fail. Another epic fail is, of course, the images. We don't go name it. The show me a slave with a dog. All the high-standing officials in Kemet had dogs, not slaves. Ippy has a dog right beside him. It's a puppy. It's his tomb. Slaves did not have tombs. Hebrew slaves did not have tombs. I wish Hebrew slaves had tombs, because then there's the proof that there's Hebrew slaves. Imagine Hebrews were at such a high status that they could actually have tombs in Egypt. If there's tombs, then there's bones of Hebrews. Where's the bones in the tombs? Where's their diaries? What positions did they hold? Okay, so the whole image there of Ippy and brick laborer is nonsense. We also went through the Ipru papyrus. The Ipru papyrus does not match the book of Exodus. The dating of the Ipru papyrus does not go back to the dates of Moses. There was no flood. There was no fire in the book of Exodus. There was no travelers coming into the land, hiding in bushes. We went over everything in the last video. These things did not happen. Somebody gave this gentleman the Ipru papyrus, told him that things match. I don't know how much of the Ipru papyrus. I've been reading the Ipru papyrus now for 7 years. It does not match. It's not even a historical event. No archaeologist says it's a historical event. And none of these things happened in the book of Exodus. If they did happen, then we have to add plagues. We got to add plagues, and these things didn't. The thing doesn't match. There is no Hebrews in Egypt. The next video we're going to go over the Ysrayl Stela. That's the funniest one of them all, which he says is the most important of all his evidence. So we've taken out the evidence so far, the 2 pieces of evidence that he gave. Sobek Hotep was one of the pieces of evidence that he gave. Sobek Hotep that existed in 1745. In the 1700 BC, 500 years before Ramesses, the book of Exodus, Genesis 47:11 says the Israelites came into Egypt and were given the land of Ramesses. Sobek Hotep existed 500 years before Ramesses, so how could he be giving the head count 500 years before the Israelites even came? Give me some archaeology that says Sobek Hotep was around 1200 BC. The Ipru papyrus has nothing to do with anything in the book of Exodus. You'd think the Ipru papyrus would mention Moses. I mean, you'd think the Ipru papyrus would mention that a man came with all of these, with plagues. And the Pharaoh had serpents, and, I mean, this story is not even the Moses story. You'd think the Ipru papyrus would mention the Israelites leaving. Nobody's even mentioned by name in the Ipru papyrus. The Exodus story is about a war going on between Moses and his God and his people versus the Pharaoh and his sorcerer, and they were clashing, and Moses was bringing plagues. Okay? There's nothing mentioned about a man coming with plagues. Nothing mentioned about a flood. Nothing mentioned about the Red Sea. Nothing mentioned about any of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, the pictures are straight up lies. All Kemetians need an apology for that. We need an apology for you telling us that Ippy is a 15-year-old water boy. Big lie, brother. You referred us to a website that lies. You should be attacking that website for its lies. Will you make a video, please, saying that this website that you referred to us is lies? On the phone, we covered the Wheeler thing. Wheeler said that the Egyptians, the pharaohs never said anything to demean themselves or the land or the gods or any of their defeats. We went over that. We showed that they did. So the reference that you gave for that, they lied. You said it wasn't typical. I have yet to see where it was not typical for the pharaohs to not log their defeats. You haven't shown that. You haven't shown any images where it says Hebrew or Israelite underneath any kind of workers. You've shown nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, Kemet is the oldest known spiritual civilization on the planet. It is responsible for astronomy, astrology, mathematics, the language you speak, the phone that you're holding in your hand, the glass that's used to make their phone that you're holding, to even the YouTube, for you to even watch a computer. The technology of all of this was developed in ancient Egypt. The pen that Moses used, there was no such thing as Moses, but the pen that he used was developed in Egypt. And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to take paper, like this Watchtower book, or a Bible, which is just paper. It's just paper. And you're going to use paper to try and debate actual civilizations that existed, that made pottery, that made artwork, architecture, math, astronomy, astrology, clothes, and you're going to use paper, Bibles, to try and debate it, and try to put your culture, your paper culture that doesn't exist anywhere on the earth, inside of an actual real culture. It's not going to work. Try again. Next video is the Ysrayl Stela, which was named by whites because no blacks in ancient times. Myrna Ptah never called it the Ysrayl Stela. Only whites called it that. No Kemetic or ancient Israelite called the Ysrayl Stela. So whites have an agenda when they called it that, because that Stela story is not about Israel. Peace to the next video. See you then.